Everybody, welcome. Welcome, everyone coming in right now. 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. I think this is the biggest DemSOC meeting by far, I think, isn't it? Um, cool. Okay. Is that everybody in? Jamie? We st we still got lots more people coming. Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming. Um, Use the chat, say hi, introduce yourself, where you're from, connect with your friends, new friends, comrades. Maybe you even got some enemies in this chat today. I don't know. Uh, if so, maybe we can come together and put aside our differences for tonight. We've got getting up to 180 people so far, which is amazing. Hi, Faith. How's it going? Hi, Matt. How you all doing? Zoe, Heather, Stuart. All good. All right. Okay, we'll give it another couple of minutes, and then we're going to start. Hi, Sylvia. How's it going? Hi, Brett, James, Nora, Robert, Lorna, Stuart. Lots and lots of people. This is amazing. How many people have come out tonight for this? Tam, en route from London to Glasgow. I hope you're in a train, not driving. Um, I'm here in Edinburgh. Hi, all. Michael, Helen. All right. Right, I think we're going to start, guys. I think everyone who is on time is ready to be here now. So, hello, everybody, and welcome to the first of our series of Democratic Socialists in conversation with. And tonight, it's our pleasure to host this meeting and to be in discussion with Zarah Sultana. And I'm going to just give her the spotlight quickly. If you'd like to introduce yourself, Zarah.
Hi everyone, Zarah Sultana here, MP for Coventry South, and just really excited to be on this call with you to talk about party democracy.
All right, thank you so much, Sarah. Um, so if I just put you back there. So let me just first introduce the event tonight, and what this is and what this isn't. So let's be clear. Sorry, just to introduce myself. I'm Ewan Cameron. I'm a convener for the Democratic Socialists. I've been working on the Constitution Group mainly, also doing bits of this and bits of that. So let's be clear about tonight. This is not a meeting about official partnerships or endorsements. What we are doing together, though, is coming together, and we're here to find common ground. We're here to understand where we align and where we disagree across this emerging party at this incredibly crucial stage. Because when we have these discussions, we can better organize together, and that's what we need to be doing right now. So, a bit about us. If you don't know who we are, the Democratic Socialists, well, it's like Ron Seal. It does what it says on the tin. Our values are we're pushing for socialist values within your party, and we're pushing for democratic processes. This today, we're going to be sharing more about what we're doing, and we'll be sharing our campaign. We're also going to be hearing from Zara on her platform, on her proposals when it comes to this founding process for your party. I am going to put some links in the chat right now to our website and our campaigns. To make a bookmark, I will also share them at the end as well. But do for now, pay attention to what we're saying, but also do use the chat to ask questions. We've got some moderators here that could help you out if you've got questions about Democratic Socialists. For tonight, our agenda is as follows. First, we're going to hear from three of our Democratic Socialist comrades, Max Shanley, Chloe Braddock, and Ewan Tilley. Following that, we'll hear from Zarah Sultana, who will talk about her proposals for the founding process of your party. And then after that, we will have an open discussion involving perhaps ourselves and Zara, and also we'll take questions from the floor. A few ground rules. Just be respectful, guys. Keep it comradely. You're welcome to disagree with anything that's said, but you know what being respectful is. So if you're being weird or you're being disrespectful, we will remove you. So if you have disagreements, put them in a respectful manner, please. Yes, exactly. Don't be a D. We are going to be going for. We're hoping to go for an hour. And I'm gonna get us right on to schedule. So we're going to start with Max Shanley, who is going to talk to us about the Democratic Socialists and one of our founding philosophies.
Hello,
Hi,
comrades.
Max.
I'm here. Hope you're all well. I'm here today to talk to you about our vision for the party, which is what we like to describe as a party republic. At its core, a socialist party must be a mass association of the working class united for collective political action and independent of all capitalist parties and influence. Its foundation cannot be blind loyalty to elites, but the democracy of the many. Central to this is the embrace of Republican democratic principles, popular sovereignty, equality, accountability, the right to recall, and collective rule as a guiding framework for all party structures and practices. Our party must not replicate the oppressive society it has emerged from, but embody the free and equal society that it aspires to build. Socialism demands democracy precisely because democracy demands socialism. Form and function are inseparable. The means are the ends, and the ends are the means. But party constitutional questions cannot be seen in the abstract. They are expressly political because they reflect the inevitable social relations and class dynamics within the party itself. How we structure decision making, leadership election, leadership elections, resource allocation, and accountability reveals who holds power inside the party. And without democratic structures designed to discipline the bureaucracy and party leaders, they will otherwise become the ruling class of the party, controlling resources, staff, and decision making. And in doing so, the party risks reproducing the capitalist hierarchies within its own organisation. The best way of describing this is as an internal class struggle within the party itself, and it will be a continuous battle that we will all have to wage. To ensure that there is no such thing as a party king or a queen, no court of unelected power, but a genuine party republic where all members are sovereign and sovereign equals and active participants in shaping their own destiny, requires a kind of democracy previously unknown to left-wing organisation in Britain, whether it be those of you that come from outside the Labour tradition, from the various groups on what is most commonly referred to as the far left, or Labourism itself. So when you in traditional political parties, power is often incredibly centralized. Bureaucratic interests often dominate, and they accommodate ruling class pressures and sideline their grassroots membership. We propose to turn this entirely on its head. We believe that before such a party will be in a position whereby it can turn the world upside down, we first have to turn our own way of thinking and doing upside down. This is what we mean by the party republic. Ultimately, democracy is when the governed govern themselves. So that means a party with no king or queen or court who we must all obey blindly and be loyal to and obey fealty, but a party republic in which all are equal and none are more equal than anybody else. And I believe my comrades who are about to follow me will go into more detail on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Max. That was excellent. So, Chloe Braddock, I'm going to bring you up. Yes, and please do use the reactions, guys, to give your applause for Max there. I'm going to ask Chloe if you'd like to lead us.
Yeah. Well, so good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming. I'm Chloe. I'm a member of the executive committee in DSYP, and I'm going to be talking about our proposed political statement for your party, which, along with other members in the program group, I was involved with drafting. So you might have seen this document. We launched it earlier this week. It's made up of two halves. There's sort of a preamble going through our view on how the party ought to situate itself in the political context of modern Britain. And then there's a set of 10 points that lay out the planks of what we believe can be a popular, meaningful, and radical minimum programme for the New Left Party. So before I get into it, I should explain, for those who might not know, what a minimum programme is. That is basically a set of broad demands for what a socialist working class party aiming to put that class in charge of society requires as a prerequisite in order to enter government. We don't believe that the New Left Party should be entering any government without this set of demands being committed to, right? A minimum programme comprises points on undoing the various social ills and forms of exploitation that are experienced by the working class. It also contains a commitment to the democratisation of the state and the economy, with the aim of breaking the power of the capitalist ruling class and redistributing their power to the working class. And that is, or it should be, a key distinction between our party, the Socialist Party of the Working Class, and others. We're standing not just for the redistribution of wealth to the poor, which of course has happened before in capitalist imperialist Britain, often at the expense of the international working class. We stand for the redistribution of political power to the working class, and necessarily that does mean the establishment of a democratic and socialist republic and a constituent assembly to write a constitution and refound the state. The role of the party in this is to shape the working masses into a politically conscious class that can build the structures that will govern itself, basically. So I'll highlight a few points, a few of the key points quickly here. As I said, there is the commitment to the foundation of a republic and the thorough democratization of the state. Now, Britain today is a backwards society. In the 1700s and the 1800s, the British state became a historically effective vehicle for the mobilization of class power and the development of society, right? And of course, the atrocious conquest of much of the world as well. And that was because it was a new kind of state founded relatively recently in the 1600s that could and did channel capital's developmentalist tendencies into state capacity, a larger tax base, the adoption of technological advancements, and so on. Now, that was centuries ago, and we don't live in the world of muskets and cannon anymore. But Britain and its state hasn't changed much. We still actually have an aristocracy, right? We still have an unelected upper chamber with bishops in it. Capitalist societies are never truly democratic. But in Britain, the state is ancient, backwards, inefficient, and creaking. And frankly, it's a bit of a national embarrassment. We can't get anything done, and society simply rots away. The state needs to be democratized and reforged, fit for the 21st century, and it needs to be. In fact, it can only be the working class who do that, who seize the power and make that happen. Now, at the same time, we're living in an era of social regression and ever-increasing poverty, right? People go without healthcare. Towns and cities and rural areas are rotting away, while parasitic private interests loot away at all levels of the state. And the only solution that they present, and that is presented in the media and by politicians, is more privatization. And that's a death spiral of parasitism that capital has no solution to, right? So our solution is to remove those parasites. We are calling for the actual abolition of private rental exploitation and the decommodification of housing. We're calling for the nationalization of the commanding heights of the economy and infrastructure, including the banks, without compensation, because we've already paid them 100 times more than they ever deserved in the first place. We think these things need to happen as a prerequisite to dealing with the problems faced by the British working class, and to make our other key demand in this area, widespread, meaningful ways of investment into the public realm carried out in a democratic manner, effective and lasting. And finally, we're calling for justice. This is something I think sets our programme apart more than anything else. A real problem for the socialist movement, in my view, is that we so often can fail to capture the real anger that lies dormant amongst the masses. We don't take it seriously. We're all about peace and love. And I am about peace and love more than anyone, don't get me wrong. But I'm also about putting Keir Starmer and David Lammy in The Hague where they belong, and Tony Blair too. And in fact, there are a lot of people who are culpable for the harms that have been done over previous decades to the working class and the oppressed, in Britain and abroad. And those people are still out there. They're richer than ever. And frankly, they're laughing at us. They're in parliament, in the media, in the halls of power, and generally they're very comfortable. So we need to take that anger and run with it against these criminals, articulate it, and use it as a weapon to smash the power of this band of crooks. We need a process of justice, sort out who's culpable for what. The pollution of our world, the starvation of children in Britain and in Palestine and all around the world, the invasion of Iraq, the social murder of austerity in the pandemic, and 1,000 other crimes. And that for us looks like public inquiries, transparent and democratic, and with teeth. That is a popular and a righteous demand. Now, there's much more in the programme and the political statement that I haven't covered, but these are the broad strokes. This isn't a manifesto or a policy platform, but a broader programme of aims. These aims, we believe, are those of a radical, socialist, working-class party that can move beyond populism and social democracy and truly abolish the present state of affairs, and in doing so, establish a new, democratic, socialist one that atones for the sins of the past and drives us into the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Chloe. That was excellent. I'm going to bring on, where is he? Bring on Ewan Tilley. So remember, I'm Ewan Cameron, everybody. This is Ewan Tilley. So don't ever confuse us if you can.
People.
But we both like Gramsci, I think.
I think
perhaps. So. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah, away you go.
Wonderful. So I'm here to talk to you today about a vague outline of our proposed constitutional amendments. Now, friends, we're not discussing a question of administration. We're not tinkering with procedures or adjusting machinery. We're laying the foundations of a new party. So a party of the working class, for the working class, and by the working class. So this should not be a reform, it should be a refoundation. So we should not have a constitution of comfort, but of struggle. Weapon forged in fire to be wielded by the working class for its own emancipation. So, friends, all true socialist politics begins from one point, the class itself. Not as an object of charity or a problem to be managed, but as a subject of history. No saviours from above, no managers of capital, no mediation between labour and its oppressors. The working class must liberate itself through its own organisation, its own discipline, its own conscious struggle. Our proposed constitution gives that struggle form. It would transform your party into a living organism of the class. Democratic from below, sovereign in its will, accountable to none but its own membership. So firstly, we must be a multi-tendency socialist party. We do not fear differences, we must wrestle with them. Within our own ranks should stand revolutionaries, syndicalists, left social democrats, all united in one task, to oppose the domination of capital and the state that protects it. Unity, my friends, is not silence. It is struggle. Struggle conducted openly, under the discipline of our collective will. Secondly, we must reverse the direction of power. Enough of this command from above. The life of the party begins where the class lives. In the branches, the streets, the workplaces. Half of all membership dues must flow to these local organs. They will not beg, they will act. Power will rise upwards. From branch to region, from region to nation, never the other way around. Thirdly, the National Conference should be the supreme organ of the party. Not a spectacle, not a consultation, it must be the sovereign assembly of the class. Through its delegates, chosen by branches, the members will determine the line. The leadership will carry it out. Nothing must stand higher than the conference. Fourth, dissent must be sacred. Members must have the right to organise, to publish, to criticise, provided that they accept the collective decision where it stands. For democracy without dissent is not democracy, it's civility. We must choose democracy, we must choose struggle. Fifth, now, the rights of Scotland and Wales to organise nationally shall arise from below, from the will of their own members. No bureaucrat in London will dictate their form. National organisation shall be built by the rank and file themselves, not by decree but by initiative. Sixth, accountability must be total. Every representative is subject to reselection. Every executive member must face term limits. No post is permanent. Leadership, friends, is not a privilege. It must be a service to the working class. 7th, the leadership must mirror the membership. No reserved seats for MPs. No domination by men, by landlords, or by people of one background. The National Political Committee shall reflect the composition of the working class itself, in gender, in region, in industry, and in struggle. 8th, elections within the party will be genuinely democratic. We must adopt a single transferable vote system under the Droop quota, commonly known as Scottish STV, so that no faction, no clique can monopolise the organs of power. Delegates will be directly elected and held to account for every vote they cast. 9th, justice in the party will not be the privilege of the few. All disciplinary matters shall be handled by a discipline and grievance commission. 11 ordinary members, chosen by lot. They will judge in the open, publish their findings, and ensure rule of law, not of faction. Now, friends, this constitution is not a formality. It is a structure for power. Power that begins in the hands of the membership and stays there. It is built to make democracy irreversible, to make leadership temporary, to make the party itself the organised will of the class. We do not seek efficiency, we seek sovereignty. We do not seek management, we seek power. Not power over one another, but power together, against the capitalist system that exploits us all. From branch to region, from region to nation, power must ascend. And that, in that ascent, the working class will begin to constitute itself as the ruling class in embryo. That, my friends, is the meaning of these amendments, and that is the promise of our proposed constitution. And that is why we must pass it, not to tidy our rules, but to prepare for victory. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ewan. And I do want to remind people that many of my comrades here have talked about documents, talked about political statements, talked about, as Ewan's just talked about, our constitutional demands. These are all available in full on our website for you to read in full. And if you do have any questions about Democratic Socialists, do let me know in the chat, and we can help to answer your questions. So moving on now, thank you to the three. Thank you to the three speakers from the Democratic Socialists. I'm going to bring on Zarah Sultana to talk about her platform and her proposals for your party at this stage. So I'm just going to add you in there, Zarah, and you're welcome to go ahead.
Thanks, Ewan. Thank you, DemSocs, for having me this evening, and thank you to everyone who's made time for this call. I want to start off by saying thank you. I'm so grateful for everyone who is organising, debating, for caring to fight for a party that actually lives up to its promise of belonging to its members. We've all seen what happens when parties stop belonging to their members. Many of us might be traumatised by the Labour Party and seeing the fact that members do the work, they knock on doors, they deliver the leaflets, they raise the money for the party, but then they're shut out when decisions are made. That is not democracy, it's not socialism, and it's not what we're building here. We want to build something fundamentally different, a democratic, member-led socialist party with foundations strong enough to last a generation and beyond. And that, of course, means maximum member democracy, because it's your party, it has to belong to you. And so the starting point, the first principle of everything that we should be fighting for, is that our conference must be the supreme sovereign body of the party. That's what I mean by the concept of the people's whip. Conference decisions must be binding on all elected representatives, whether that's a councillor, an MP, an MSP, an MS, whatever you want, mayor, it has to be binding on everyone. If members vote for a policy, elected representatives must carry it out. If conference makes a decision, it's not an advisory thing, it is binding. And that's the only way to stop what's happened in the past, where elected representatives, especially MPs, have treated members just as volunteers rather than equals. And future conferences must have delegates elected by all member meetings, and that's how we can guarantee a party that is truly democratic. Just moving on to the executive of the party, it must be an executive of members, not MPs. And the leadership of the party must be accountable to the party's members. That's why all positions for the CEC must be ordinary positions, open to every single member to stand for election, and there cannot be any reserved positions, again, for MPs or councillors or anyone else. These elections must be held before the end of the year, so the leadership is democratic, the leadership of the party is democratic, not appointed. And we know that democracy delayed is democracy denied. The third point I've got is uniting socialists. If this project is to succeed, it has to be the home of the whole socialist movement, and it's our job to unite the left. That's why I'm supporting calls for dual membership, for lowering the age to 14, and for allowing people to join abroad as international members, which is very normal across many political parties. Membership must also be open to anyone who is living in the UK, not just those who have the right to vote, because socialism is solidarity with our whole class, and that includes our migrant communities. If you live here, if you work here, if you're struggling here, then this party is yours and you should be able to join it. The fourth point is around young people, and I say this as someone who came through the student movement. Our young members aren't the future. They are the present. They are organising. They are fighting today. And that's why we need a formal youth section with real power and representation, not the tokenistic youth reps, not the symbolic committees that don't actually do anything, but a proper structure that gives young socialists a voice in how this party is run. Their energy, creativity, and courage should be at the heart of everything that we do, and they cannot be treated as just photo ops or people who can give us ideas on how to make good TikToks. It has to be genuine, it has to be real. Just moving now on to democracy in Scotland and Wales. Party democracy obviously doesn't recognise the borders of the UK. In Scotland, members must have the right to found their own Scottish party, to decide its structure and to define its relationship with your party UK. That applies to Wales too. Members in Wales have the right to establish a Welsh party to shape it and its connection to the wider movement, because again, socialism is about self-determination, and if that means independence, then that means independence, and that is for our Scottish and our Welsh members to decide. We will be building solidarity through, we will build unity through solidarity, not control from the centre. And then when it comes to who our candidates are, we've all seen what happens when selections are rigged in backroom deals, where seats become personal fiefdoms, and when the membership is told, you just have to accept whoever you're given. That can't happen. Only members should decide who represents them. And that means supporting the demand for open selection, mandatory reselection, and the right to recall. The party that we're building isn't here to have coronations, and it's definitely not here to be a Labour 2.0. So every elected representative must be accountable continuously to their members. It's not a job for life. And put simply, if you can't win the confidence of fellow members, you probably shouldn't represent them. It really is that simple. When it comes to empowering our local branches, for democracy to work, it has to be resourced. It can't just be a thing that you say and hopefully it will just manifest into something. Local branches must receive 50% of membership fees and full access to membership data so they can actually organise in our communities. That is how you build living, breathing branches that can campaign, that can support industrial action, that can support tenants' unions, that can build real power in our communities. And wherever there is a site of struggle in our communities, our members and our elected representatives have to be there. Branches shouldn't be seen as just, call centres whenever an election is called. If we get this right, they will be the centres of working class organisation. And crucially, members must be deciding everything about how this party is structured. That obviously also includes the leadership model. Should we have a sole leader? Should we have co-leaders? Should it be a collective leadership? Well, not for me to decide. Obviously, I have a preference, but it's for conference to decide. Not MPs, not a steering group, and not bureaucrats operating in the shadows. if we are to trust our members on policy, we have to trust them on structure too, and that is so important. To make sure that every voice counts, our internal elections should be conducted using STV under the Droop quota. That is the most democratic voting system available, and this allows for pluralism and encourages cooperation. If we are here to build a genuinely broad socialist party, this is how we will make it work in practice. And now just touching on transparency. Party democracy means absolutely nothing if we don't have transparency. And that means an independent oversight of the sortition process that is being used for this conference and independent oversight for all internal party elections that we have, as well as a full internal audit of party finances and electing a treasurer and a general secretary through one member, one vote. We're not here for secrets, none of that. Just trust us. We've been doing politics for a really long time, kind of business. Trust is built through openness and transparency. It is not a given, and that has to be at the heart of this. And finally, and this is quite important as well, all amendments from regional assemblies must be published and they must be accessible. Any amendment that wins 25% of support across assemblies must be put to a vote on conference floor, because all of our members are giving time up and they're sharing their ideas. They deserve to know that their work, their ideas, and their time actually matters, and it's not just going to disappear into thin air. And just to wrap up, essentially, my motivation has always been very simple. It's to strengthen our collective power. It is to put it's to put members of our party in control and not MPs, and to build a radically democratic socialist party that our country so desperately needs. And whether it's the meeting here tonight or all the events I've been doing across the country, and I've lost count of how many, maybe 20, 25, 30, I will always fight for grassroots power and members to lead this party, because unless we have that, we're nothing more than just another hollow political party machine, just like the rest of them out there. And we cannot build socialism without democracy. So decisions must be made by those who do the work, where MPs and councillors are accountable, where our branches have power, where young people lead, where socialists of every background finally have a political home. And if we get this right, and it's a historic task, if we build a socialist party that truly belongs to its members, we will create something that can't be captured, destroyed, or bought. And with 50,000 members already, your party is already the largest socialist party in the UK since the 1940s. But the task before us is making it the most democratic socialist party in modern British history. And we know that the stakes couldn't be higher. Climate breakdown, collapsing living standards, a housing system rigged against tenants, public services gutted to the bone, the largest fascist mobilisations seen in recent memory, and if an election was held today, Nigel Farage would be our Prime Minister. And then we've got a Labour government enabling genocide in Palestine, leaving hundreds of thousands of children in avoidable poverty, refusing to tax the super rich or tackle inequality, and steadily eroding our basic rights to protest, organise, and speak out. And that tells us that we have a fight on our hands. We see billionaires growing richer, the richest 50 families in this country hoard more wealth than half of the population, while nurses, teachers, firefighters, and so many others in our communities are queuing at food banks. The planet is burning and corporations are counting their profits. And it was a comrade called Karl Marx who taught us that capitalism builds its own crises, wealth in a few hands, destruction of life's conditions, and working class people paying the price. We've lived through this: austerity, privatization, inequality. And so we understand that we cannot tinker around the edges. Capitalism is the problem. And what we need is a socialist transformation where workers control the means of production and communities control the wealth that they create. So this democracy is what we have to build from the ground up, taking power from the billionaires, the landlords, and those who profit off our labor. And it was Lenin who said, without revolutionary theory, there cannot be a revolutionary movement. But theory without action is meaningless. And that's why the party that we're building has to be rooted in the lives of working class people, not in the interests of the powerful. And I always say this at every event I've been to, nothing has ever been handed to us. Every right we have, every gain, every bit of progress has been won through struggle. So we have to get organized, and it's going to be hard, but we have to do it. Let's build your party. Let's fight together in our workplaces, in our communities, in our towns and cities, because it's a very simple choice that's before us. It's socialism or barbarism, and I know which side we're on. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sarah. And I think a lot of the Democratic Socialists will be very happy to hear everything you said today. Um, I mean, definitely. Oh, of course, there's so much that we have in common in terms of what we want from from your party at this point, and it really lots of things that you said, but this idea for those of us who sort of lived through Labour, the party, um, this idea that the sort of the rank and file members, so to speak, were treated as volunteers, were treated as this sort of call centre to be, for volunteer labour at election time, and I think this is something that motivates the Democratic Socialists is we want members and local parties to be more than that. We want local parties to be these engines of local democracy embedded in communities. And we want people to be we want, regular members, quote unquote, to be treated as intellectuals in their own right, because they are. And so, picking up on some of the things you said, the the demands that local branches are funded and 50% of member fees going straight to local branches, not having to beg for it, not having to go cap in hand to a national organization, but guaranteed that money. That's going to incentivize local branches to build. It's going to give them the dignity to organize in their local communities and know, because they're the people best placed to know what to campaign on in their local communities. So, I'm personally really happy for you to hear that you support our demand for 50% of member fees to go straight to local branches as well, and also the people's whip, which is is also an idea or a demand that we have as well. We call it the Socialists in Office Committee. So we used to think of the whip as the people sort of at the quote unquote top of the party telling the people below what to do. This is the other way around. This is local branches, representatives from local branches holding elected officials to account, and this is really important for this party, and for this party going forward. So. Yeah, I'm really, really happy. I'm sure all the other Democratic Socialists are happy. I do want to pick up on someone was asking in the chat about, this is all really good, but what are the practical steps? I've just posted the links in the chat now to our Democratic Socialist website. This has got our guide on how to participate in the regional conferences, regional assemblies, and how to participate in the crowd editing with our suggestions of how you might want to edit the crowdsourced documents on the Your Party website. So if it's okay, Zara, we'll take a few questions from the floor, and then I'm going to bring back in the other DemSocs who can also maybe help to answer things as well. If I start with Regan, let's see, you've got your hand up. And can I just ask that people keep their questions so concise, please? So just keep it to a minute. We want to get as many people asking questions as possible. Thank you.
Hi, sorry, I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Okay, fine. My name's Reagan. I'm from the Revolutionary Communist Group Fight Racism, Fight Imperialism. Actually, can I defer? One of my other comrades also had indicated, can I actually defer to him? He's under the name now KS, my comrade Kotsai.
Yeah, okay, yeah. If KS, can you unmute KS?
Yeah,
Thank you.
hello.
Hello, we can hear you.
Okay, like my comrade said, I'm from the Revolutionary Communist Group. So Zarah Sultana's politics, we feel has made it absolutely clear, anti-imperialism, anti-Zionism, etc. Her politics has made it absolutely clear that it is necessary to split from the Corbyn and independent MPs clique because they don't want this position. All they do is offer abuse, exclusion, and behind the scenes maneuvers. Simply amending documents is fighting them on their terms, where there's no measure of success except for endless back and forth over the interpretation of this or that rule. So I have to ask, what what would change if 20%, 50%, or 80% of the Democratic Socialist amendments are agreed? What matters is the politics of the party first and foremost, and everything else flows from that. The state is stepping up its assault on the working class, forcing ever greater numbers into poverty and misery. Its brutality is evident with its unequivocal defense of the genocide in Palestine, and its racism is fomenting reaction and racist violence on our streets. As we see inter-imperialist rivalries intensify.
Have you asked the question? Yeah.
Let me finish just really quickly. We've seen the inter-imperialist rivalries intensify. And I'm just going to quote James Connolly, we only want the earth. So what we need is a fighting vanguard party to take the earth. And the first step is to split from the reactionary social democratic politics of Corbyn and his reactionary.
Okay, could you ask a question, please? Because I did say keep it concise.
I think you did ask a question.
Yeah.
I think you did already ask a question.
Yeah.
I'm more than happy to respond.
Okay, Max.
So the first thing is I'd like to thank the comrade in the RCG for his pre-prepared speech. That was very much welcomed. As to your question as what would happen if 80 to 90% of the Democratic Socialists proposed amendments to the Constitution happened, what would occur? Well, the simple fact remains that you can't have a radical politics unless you have a democratic structure, right? So whatever your persuasion within the socialist movement, whether you're a left-wing social democrat or a revolutionary communist, in a democratic party, there's more of a chance of your politics coming to the fore. So you can't have a radical politics without radical democracy in the party, I'm afraid. And if 80%, 90% of the party republic was instituted, then we would have just that, and everything that Zarah has been articulating this evening in terms of political content would be more likely to be adopted.
And Zarah, did you want to respond to that as well?
Yes, I actually met Reagan yesterday in Nottingham, and other RCG comrades have been turning up to quite a lot of events. I respect it. I can only speak for myself, and I've repeated myself a few times around we can shape this party through joining as members and voting for the policies that we want to see. So anyone who wants to see an anti-Zionist, anti-imperialist party that will withdraw from NATO and have all of the positions that I believe everyone on this call supports, we need to get involved and fight for it. And I strongly urge everyone on the call who hasn't already joined to join the party. And before I forget, I will be holding an eve of party rally on the Friday night. Make a note in your calendars. There will be more details that come out. And essentially, I did not leave the Labour Party to create another one, and I will continue to fight for a member-led Democratic Party. And that is what I'm doing tonight as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm going to take 3 questions in a row. So if you could keep your questions concise so we can get 3 people in. So I'm going to go for Ritinka, and then Claire, and then Ian, if possible. So start with Ritinka.
Hi, I just want to keep this short. I live in Norwich. I'm an immigrant. I do have voting rights because I'm from the Commonwealth, but many people don't. And the thing is, as was announced today and everything else going on, Labour itself has launched an assault upon the rights of immigrants as well as asylum seekers. Reform is going to do it as well. And as things are, there is going to be a reform government in power in 2029, and that's an eventuality that we may have to accept. So my question is, how do we go about resisting these things, and how does the party structure enable some form of organic resistance for activism, etc., to resist these things that are going to happen over the next 9 years, I suppose, at least.
Okay. And then to Claire.
Oh, hi there. Sorry, my son in the background. Yeah, I'm Claire from Socialist Alternative. Thanks for letting me ask a question. So really what I wanted to ask about, I think it's really good that Zarah has published the kind of key demands of the left for the conference and publicised them, on her social media and stuff. I think that that's excellent. I think what we kind of need now is like a real battle plan. First of all, to make sure that there are going to be votes on these issues, because it seems like it's very opaque, the process with the submitting things online through the portal. I think we should do that, but it doesn't seem clear to me how the agenda's being constructed. So I think it's important that there's some kind of battle plan demanding that the key issues are going to be voted on, and then also to organise delegates. So it seems to me that the fringe meeting that I believe there's going to be on the Friday night could be a forum for that. And I just really wondered what the plans are that are getting put together for organising left delegates, making sure that there's going to be people ready, prepared to speak, prepared to challenge the agenda, prepared to fight to try and win some of these votes, because it seems to me that the left is actually in the majority of the grassroots, and it should be possible to win on the key issues. So that's the question.
Claire. Thank you, Claire. And Ian?
Hi. Well, I don't have the quite the third period ultra leftist critique of Corbyn that the first speaker did, but I do have severe criticisms and disappointments with him and his role in this process, the delays, and I think the almost criminal misuse of the initial mailing list of 800,000 people. Plus, one very simple question is if we could still use that to try and drive out into the people who've expressed an interest and try and build up branches and so on. We still don't know exactly who all of these people are, and haven't been able to build out into this huge political vacuum as well as we should have. And that brings me on to a couple of specific quick questions about Scotland, because we can guess in some ways it was posed as an electoral party. It was also posed as led by Jeremy and Zarah, not by the other four. So that's already a slight of hand. But it was posed as an electoral party. And I think we do need to get our skates on now, because we've got a 5-year, once every 5 years chance in Scotland, where we've got 3 other parties that are hated, and the only other new kid on the block is Reform. So we do have to think seriously about standing here. And also, don't presume everyone in Scotland in your party orbit is pro-independence. I'm not. I know a lot of people who are not. And the fact that there was an oversubscription of Scots when it was still shooting up astronomically, was shooting up quicker in Scotland than the rest of the country, shows that there's an appetite for unity across this island as well, among Scottish people, because there are other Scottish-only parties available. So yes to autonomy within the party, but not to complete separation like the Scottish Green Party up here, who are actually so dysfunctional they're losing members to us. Well, unfortunately, given some of the things that happened, we lost some members to them down south.
All right, thank you, Ian. So let Zarah respond to those questions first, and then go to Chloe and Ewan after.
Thank you. So I'll start off with Labour attacking immigrants, chasing Reform down this race to the bottom of anti-migrant hatred. I said my solidarity to everyone on this call who's directly affected by the hostile environment and by things that this Labour government is doing. I will never accept Reform just, being in government. That's the job for us, all of us, to stop from happening. And I think in terms of how we can resist and support our migrant communities, I think it's important that when the fascists turn up, we turn up. We are not here just to defeat the fascists at the electoral ballot box, but we are there to fight them in the streets as well. And that means turning up to anti-fascist demonstrations and taking inspiration from Kenmure Street in Glasgow, where communities stopped the deportation of 2 members of their community. We need to be resisting in every possible way. And also, this is why it's important to look at the membership eligibility, and we should allow people who are living here, not people who have to, go through the bureaucracy of being able to have the right to vote or whatever else. We're here to support everyone in our communities, and those people should be able to join the party, have a voice, be able to shape the party, but we should also materially be present in supporting our migrant siblings. And I think that is an important thing to also recognize, that there'll be people who are unable to take part in politics because of the hostile environment, because there is a risk to them being deported. And we have to make sure that we are an inclusive party reaching out to everyone. On the founding documents, on the regional assemblies, and also on the mailing list, I have not been involved whatsoever. I am seeing things just like everyone else is when I get that email in my inbox. So you have to ask the 5 MPs around that when it comes to the process that will happen through sortition, and of course at conference itself, which has been divided into afternoons. If I had access to the mailing list, I would have encouraged people to obviously go to the anti-Tommy Robinson demonstration to support industrial action, whether that's in Birmingham, whether that's other strikes that are taking place across the country. And instead, I think instead of getting solidarity when Lawrence Fox and various others, Christian Calgi, are calling for me to be deported, I'm just getting smeared. So I am here to fight for a democratic party where members have control, and not anyone else. But I will say that on Scotland in particular, we have already seen 3 Scottish Green councillors defect to your party, and in places especially like Glasgow, we have a real opportunity to win a seat in Holyrood. And I think it's important that we are able to provide the resources and the support to our Scottish comrades to be able to organise before, obviously, May's election. And I think there are some wins that we could also have in Wales, and that's why we just need to get our shit together.
Zara, Chloe, did you want to come in on one of the questions?
Yeah, I wanted to come in on the question of how we fight reform, and more broadly, how we fight fascism in general. I think there's kind of 2 sides to this. There's fighting fascism in the streets, and there's fighting fascism on the national kind of scale, both of which a mass working class political party can provide some answers to. On the streets, I think that a key thing that your party, whatever it's going to be called, needs to do is to have its branches act as like a coordinating space for anti-fascist struggles, right? We don't need to go down the route of having front organizations or taking this work outside of the regular work of branches. It actually needs to become the part of the regular work of branches to say, how do we confront these people who are terrorizing this fascist terror on our streets? And I believe that a party of this kind can provide some sort of much needed strategization. Like it can be kind of the brain that the anti-fascist movement, I think, has in some ways lacked. Not to be too critical, but I do feel that there's a bit of a reactive kind of like trend where fascists will call a demonstration and anti-fascists will mobilize to confront it, and we're being led sort of in a sense, our action is being led by them. I think that we have a problem of tactics without strategy in the anti-fascist struggle on the streets, and what we need is a strategy which can be far-sighted, can look at fighting this threat in local communities, can organize in council estates and universities and in all these different theatres of struggle to confront this threat on the streets on a much greater scale that is needed to sort of drive fascism back into the hole from whence it came. And yeah, I'll leave it there.
Thank you, Chloe. Ewan, did you want to come in on a question? And to unmute.
Sorry about that. Thank you. So yeah, I've seen some people, obviously in the chat, but also I've heard some questions about obviously our strategy moving up towards conference. So I believe that Democratic Socialists, your party, has already done quite a good job, building a kind of coalition moving into conference to help push for our demands. Obviously, I've already seen the how would you call it, the fringe event mentioned. So we've brought together a lot of the groups, a lot of organised left groups, a lot of the groups that have been organised around your party, and we're trying to get those all organised so that we can, in effect, move towards a more democratic conference. So I'd say that kind of without unity, we're nothing. Like divided with debating clubs, we need to act more like a class in motion. So if we think about it, we don't really want rule by decree of 11 p.m. Twitter post. The enemy stands organised. The capitalists have the banks, they have the press, they have their state, and we only really have each other. And so every quarrel that we prolong, every set that we build is a fortress that we're only handing to the bourgeoisie. So I'd say that unity doesn't really mean silence. It means that we need to struggle with discipline, we need to debate with purpose, and we need to have action with one will. So I think we should allow ourselves to argue, but we should form under one banner. And with that aim, we should have the overthrow of capital. Thank you.
Thank you, Ewan. Zara, I think we had you till 8. Do you need to leave now, or are you okay for one more?
I can stick around for a few more minutes, but then I've got
Yeah. If we do one more quick round of questions, is that okay? That'd be great. So I'll go. So yeah, people asking questions. If you keep it concise, please. I'm going to go to Tina in Sheffield, Pat, and Gary Kandinsky, please.
Hi, Zara. Hi, comrades. I like your demands. I think they're very similar to the Democratic Socialists. They're also quite similar to the Sheffield demands we've put forward in the South Yorkshire Assembly. And I do like what one of the comrades said earlier about we need a battle plan. I think we really do. Ewan already mentioned that some groups are getting together. Also includes about more than a dozen proto-branches, all with a couple of weeks of organization, where we are focusing on some key demands to the Constitution, etc. But I think we really need to start thinking beyond. This conference is going to be a sham. It's going to be undemocratic. It's going to put into power a few things that we won't be able to change afterwards, only with a 2/3 majority. I do wonder if we shouldn't, considering that it's being organized now at such short notice, and that possibly the few people who will be able to go are maybe us, quite a few lefties. If we shouldn't try to do something at conference, like push for an emergency motion that says, we want a properly constituted conference within 3 months or something like that. Where do you see, Zara, where we could push more than, demands that there's no process at the moment to get these amendments through, is it? We can publicize them, etc. But the process is a sham. There's nothing that guarantees our demands will go to conference. Shouldn't we try? If 100 of us get up at conference and say, we want this emergency motion to be heard, and you're there as well, for example, that could make a huge difference to the way the party is going, just do it, doing it differently.
Okay, good idea, Tina. So yeah, maybe some action at the conference, perhaps. Kat, if we could have you.
Me, hi. Yes. So when you're as old as I am, I'm from the RCG, FRFI as well, can all grown. When you're as old as I am, you've seen many left of Labour type parties come and go, and you've sat in lots of meetings like this about, should there be this many people on this committee, or this many people on that one, or should we have this amendment or that amendment, and nothing ever changes because the politics never change. And there's no doubt when your party first came along, we definitely thought it was the same old. The thing, another party that's just going to wants to tinker with capitalism, spread the fruits of imperialism a little bit more fairly. Another one, and then we've seen many of them come and go. And then along came Zarah Sultana with unashamedly anti-Zionist, unashamedly anti-imperialist politics, calling for the overthrow of capitalism, workers' power, no messing around, a class war. And she said that quite explicitly, and it's time we won this one. And actually offering the potential for those who really want to overthrow capitalism to form a vanguard party. That is not compatible with what your party represents. It's not compatible with these bits of paper, these constitutions, these organizational documents. It's not compatible, actually. I'm sorry, Zarah Sultana, but it's not compatible with what Jeremy Corbyn and those around him represent, because they are the old guard. And actually, yes, the question is, not only to Zarah Sultana, but to all those who say they want to overthrow capitalism, will you split and form a vanguard party?
Thank you, Kat. And then Gary, last question to you, if you could keep it short.
Hi, we're all very, very hardworking on this project. I've loved what I've heard this evening. I don't disagree with anything that the Democratic Socialists have said, and I'd like to work with you in the future. Zarah, you was excellent, as you always are. Very little difference, really. I do agree with, is it Tina, that we need to have a means, a bridge, a more defined open plan to grab the stage, to put the things that the Democratic Socialists and Zarah are arguing, not at the end of the conference when they're trying to close everything down, when the biscuits are coming round, but literally in the very, very beginning, and within the first 20 minutes, so that the nonsense, the painful sort of demise of your party at the conference, which is what I suspect will happen, is avoided. These four
Thank you, Gary. If you got a question,
yes. My question is there such a resolve between the two of you, Democratic Socialists and Zarah? How long, Zarah, will you give this project before you round us all up to go somewhere else, because that's what's needed?
So it's quite a similar question.
That's two questions.
Yeah.
And three, will you support my demand, which I put the Democratic Platform meeting on Monday, which I think was adopted, which is accept the political statement and reject the other three documents in their entirety, because they are nonsense.
Okay, thank you, guys. Yeah, Zarah, if you want to respond to that. So we had a question about taking action at conference, sort of going against the agenda at conference, what you think about that. And then I think the other questions are sort of like, would you ever leave your party if it wasn't sufficiently matching your politics, for example? Those are the questions. So if you want to respond.
Yes. Cheers. I'll start off with Tina's. I love Sheffield, so I'm glad that people in Sheffield are happy with my demands. Like I mentioned before, I have no role in how conference is being organized and how it will play out. I don't even know if I'll physically be in the conference hall. I imagine as a member of the Independent Alliance, I might be. I don't know if that means I get any speeches or absolutely anything at all. That's why I'm organising the event on the eve of conference, and anyone else who happens to be in Liverpool, whether you succeed in the sortition process or not, please join me. I know that people have kind of taken either control of regional assemblies and passed votes and done whatever they've had to do. I really believe in members taking control. It's not for me to tell you what that looks like. I just think if you think that's something you want to do, then go for it. And then in a similar vein, around I think it's Kat from the RCG. What I'm hearing is that if you guys don't want to fight for an anti-Zionist party through the structures, through the policies, then that's fine. But I'm committed to fighting for that, because I've left the Labour Party and I'm not here to recreate another one. I really believe in this party being a genuine vehicle for socialism, and I've met thousands of people at this point across the country at rallies who share the same view, and I believe that there's enough committed comrades for us to win this fight. So I'm not going to give up that easily. It's not in my nature, and because I will continue fighting, I do think that there will be more obstacles put in my way. I've previously said, that should the membership choose a sole leader, and obviously I think it should be a co-leader, I would consider putting my hat in the ring. And I genuinely think that given all the crap that we've seen, there might be obstacles to block me from doing that. Not from Jeremy himself, definitely not, but people who are organising conference, who are organising the party, who are organising the rallies, who are drafting these documents. So I'm going to keep going, but I'm just saying that it's very hard for me in these conditions that are placed before us, but I'm going to keep going until I literally cannot. And even then I'll find a way. So I think that's everything that was just presented. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Zara. If I just let Max and Chloe and Ewan wrap up those questions as well. Start with Max.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. So I'm going to go in a bit of a different order. So to the comrade in the RCG, those of us in Democratic Socialists have no desire whatsoever to leave your party. We have a fundamentally different vision for the party, both politically and constitutionally, that we are committed to fight for to the end, because we believe that our vision for the party is the correct one. And that it's our job and the job of all members of the party who are committed to socialist politics and democratic structures, because let's remember, if you can't democratize your own party, you can't democratize the state, and if you can't democratize the state, you can't democratize the economy, and if you can't democratize the economy, well, I hate to break it to you all, but you can't have socialism. So that's what we're going to be fighting for. And we have no intention whatsoever of leaving. Our battle now is to displace the dictatorship of the mediocre that are currently ruling over the party structures. Just to respond to Tina's point very quickly, I can see Ewan is giving me the thumbs up to round up. Yeah, we are trying to work with other groups on the left around a set of proposals. We've been having unity meetings for the past 2 weeks, and Democratic Socialists have been leading that process. And we hope that within the next week or so, we will have a fundamentally united front of the left in the run up to the founding conference to fight for what we all believe is the type of party we need.
Great. Thanks, Max. Chloe, did you want to come in?
Yeah, just briefly on the idea of splitting and moving towards a ostensibly like more of a vanguard party. I don't think it's productive for the socialist left, for anyone who wants to overturn capitalism, to continue with sort of the pattern of the last 50, 60, 70 years of these small groups who are comrades, right? We there's so many good people in those organizations, but there's what, about 10,000 people overall in all of the different small groups nationwide. They're doing good work. They're involved in all sorts of campaigns, but it's not worked. There's never been this sort of explosive moment of growth for any of them that we'd hope to see. I've been in some of these groups myself, and I'm sorry, but we need to engage with the masses. We need to go where the masses are. And the masses are not attracted to what a smaller group of people might think is the perfect sort of party form with the perfect line. The masses are attracted to your party. They were attracted to Labour under Corbyn. They're attracted to the Green Party, and I think it's the job of revolutionary socialists, people who take a kind of scientific approach to this process of revolution, to work out how to appeal to those people, bring them in, and massively expand what we're doing. And for me, that is, splitting is the opposite of that.
Thank you, Chloe. And Ewan, if you want to finish us off.
Yes, just a brief thing to say. So obviously it's lovely to see so many people from the RCG here today. But I think that the main issue with making an argument for splitting, for forming a vanguard party, is that if you can't form an effective party here, then what says that we're going to be able to do it if we form a new party and we form this new, more pure sect? So obviously I'm a bit of an expert on joining these kind of sects that are really very dedicated, very principled socialists, but I'm going to be totally honest, they're not going to get anywhere. They're basically newspaper sellers, and it's unfortunate, but what we need right now is we need a mass socialist party that can then form a proper vanguard that can form the basis for a revolution that will topple the current order. That's what I think.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ewan. And thank you so much, Zara, for staying with us beyond 8 o'clock. I know we said we finish at 8, but we've gone over. But thank you so much. Have you got anything you'd like to finish
No,
finish
again,
off with?
thank you to the organisers. Thank you to everyone who's turned up. This is a historic opportunity, and we have to put our all into this and fight for the party that we know the working class in our country needs. And I am so proud to be fighting alongside all of you all, and I hope to see you in Liverpool, especially on the eve of conference. Thanks.
Thank you so much, guys. So we'll let you get off. So if anyone would like to stick around and talk to us about Democratic Socialists, you're welcome to stay for another 10, 20 minutes. Thanks to Zara for coming. Yeah, so if anyone would like to stick around, like put your questions in the chat. I'm sure Max, Ewan, and Chloe would like to keep chatting with you into the night. We're going to call this the lock-in. But yeah, does anybody else want to ask any question? Is that okay with you guys, Max, Ewan, and Chloe? Do you want to? We're going to stick around for another 20 minits or so.
Yeah, I can stick around
more
for
than
half an
happy.
hour.
Yeah, I'm sure
night.
we could go to midnight if you got. If I think we might have to have some kind of cut off. Yeah. Does anybody else want to ask a question then to one of our panel? I know the big draw has left the building, but we got some draws on the rise at the moment. JG, did you want to ask? I mean, I will say, guys, please do keep the questions as short as possible. I'm going to actually start putting a stopwatch on now because I think we do need to keep these questions short and get as many people as possible. So it is a minute, and I will cut you off. So JG, do you want to start us off with a question? Then I'll go to Mark, and then Martin after that, if that's all right.
Yeah, thanks. The name's John. I also go under the name Jack. I do think myself, I don't know who this is a question to, maybe it's a question and an observation, that the chances of us actually winning in Liverpool using conventional means are, zero. And therefore, I'm glad to hear from Max that at least over the next few weeks, we need to get down to talking about what the hell to do. Because I don't think that we're going to have, there you are, nice conference, democratic vote, they obey, they do what they're told. I just don't see that happening. And just finally, if I could, I was very surprised that, I mean, it's up to you, comrades, that you've got two leading comrades here from the SWP. I'm from the Communist Party of Great Britain, by the way. I'm absolutely amazed that you didn't call them. Because this is they're the largest organised group on the left, and it's all very well.
All right, thank you, JJ. Yeah, thank you, JJ.
It's all very well saying.
Okay, I did say I was going to mute people after a minute. I'm really sorry to have done that, but those are the rules. I mean, there are lots. There was like 20 people with their hands up, JG, and I just picked people basically at random, and tried to go for a mix of gender as well. So if the colleagues, if our comrades from the SWP want to ask a question, they're still here. I'm happy to ask them later. But thank you. Did anyone want to respond? I mean, I'm sorry to cut you off. Did anyone here want to respond to JG to his other questions?
I mean, I'm happy to just say, obviously, I'm very sorry that we didn't get to hear from any comrades from the SWP, but obviously they're welcome to ask questions now, and we'll be happy to answer them, I think.
Yeah.
I see that Charlie Kimber is here. I'm sure he's raised his hand. I think after what Jack just said, it's probably worth hearing from him.
Yeah, well,
So
we can go to I can pick one from the next round. Who did I say was next? Martin.
Yeah.
Martin.
Oh, hello. Yeah, my question is a very quick one, and it's just a practical one. I've just drafted a motion, an anti-NATO motion to pull out of NATO. But what I'm interested in is, with this conference, what mechanism have they got in place? Anybody know to actually submit these motions? And can we also view any of the other motions people submit so we can decide what we're going to support or what we're going to oppose?
Right, I'll just come back on that quickly, Martin. I'm posting in the chat now. Our Democratic Socialists, we've made our own constitution. We've looked at the draft constitution for your party as well, and we have come up with our guide to how we think that people should respond to the party. There's a crowd editing function on the Your Party official website that people can go in and edit that. If you've not been to a regional, there's also regional assemblies do factor in as well. But for individuals, you can go on the website. We have a plan. I've just put it in the chat now. So, and it's all. If you can't see it now, you can go on our website. That's one of our strategies. There are others as well, but this is the one that we've been working on for a long time. So if you want to have a look at that for our suggestions of how to respond to the draft documents. Who was the other person that I said would speak? I don't know if they put their hand down. Was it?
Just move on.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I'll ask if I go to Charlie from Charlie Kimber. Sorry,
Microphone's on.
Unmute. No, so I need to unmute it. Yeah.
Thank you, and thank you, comrades, for allowing me to speak. I'm Charlie Kimber from the Central Committee of the Socialist Workers' Party. I'm delighted to be at the meeting. I've disagreed with a lot of what certain people have said tonight, but so what, really? I think we have to unite inside your party for a democratic organisation. I think we have to take democracy seriously, and I think we have to take participation seriously. And I agreed with 90% of what Zarah Sultana put out last night, and I think probably the large majority of people here agree with the great bulk of what she said, and I think we have to get organised. Of course, there's always a danger that we neglect politics and spend too much time simply on constitutional matters, although they are themselves political. But although I want, as Zara said, a party that takes up the questions of anti-racism, trans rights, anti-imperialism, no to NATO, refugees welcome, action over climate change, and so on, we have to fight for that inside the party. And I think those of us who agree on pushing for a much more democratic vision have to organise. So my question is, how are we going to organise at the conference? And if we win things at the conference, will it actually make a difference, or will it just be put out to an on-off ballot that the leadership will feel that they can manipulate? We have to fight for that. And I think if we do that, it will be a crucial thing to do, because this is too urgent a time, with Labour's failures, with the genocide in Palestine and the fascists at the gates, to neglect or give up on your party. So I want to think how we can work together better. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. Max, you've got your hand up, I think.
Yeah, just to respond to Charlie's point quickly, if you liked what Zara had to say, you'll really like what Democratic Socialists have put forward, because 99% of what Zara spoke about tonight is actually part of our platform too. Some might say that we inspired them. If you want to work together, we've got an email address. It's on our website. Please contact us. I believe you've also been contacted about the Unity talks. We fully agree that the fight is inside your party right now, irrespective of attempts by many people to deny the left a voice. The problem with the strategy for the conferences is that we largely don't know who's going to be able to attend. Apparently 50% of all participants have already been selected. They just got an email saying, you're a delegate. They weren't asked to register or anything like that. And the other 50% of us have been asked to register, but obviously none of us know who's going to be there. So our actual forces on the ground are going to be quite difficult. And I think we're going to have to focus on the CEC elections that will happen as a result of that. I'm sure others have plenty to say, but yeah, please do get in touch.
Thanks. Did anyone else from the Democratic Socialist panel have a response? Ewan?
Yeah. Obviously, great to hear that the Socialist Workers' Party are interested in obviously working inside your party to build a more democratic structure. So obviously, like we said, there's already unity stuff ongoing, and I believe we all have a fringe event that's happening, which you'd be welcome to attend, I'm sure. And the main thing is within the members that have been sortitioned, we just want we need to make sure that they're going around, they're distributing the proper information, they're politically educating those that then don't really have much clue what's going on, and we need to counteract the hegemony from the centre. And the only way to really do that is through proper political education, I think.
Okay, thank you, Ewan. I'm aware we've still got about there's about 10, 15 people with their hands up. I'm just gonna go for Hannah. Hannah, if you're there.
Oh yeah, thanks. Sorry, I've had my hands up for ages. Just to reflect on some of the things that have been said, and also just ask a question. So this is a response to other people from my own experience, as well. I've been in going to the assemblies and going to meetings. There is no data. There's no way we're going to change the motion. It's going to be really difficult to change the motions. It's not democratic. The only way we're going to do it is by doing it ourselves. In terms of, I completely agree with vast majority of everything that's been said. My question is, how when I went to the assembly, it was about 80% male, mainly white, mainly over 65. Most people didn't have any clue what was going on. There were about 3 people of color there. I was one of them. So and trying to get people to the point to understand kind of like where we're coming from. Do you know, like obviously you can talk about it a little bit there. It's very, very difficult to try and persuade people to try and build things themselves as well, and feel like it's okay to do this. Like, we don't need permission. We need to just get on and do it and put in really basic constitutions and things like that. So what would your kind of like advice be? I mean, obviously I can see your thing with intervening in the assembly. That's what I did already. But I just wondered if you've got any other kind of points of advice about people trying to move people towards our position, really. And I completely agree. We need to stay in your party. We need to build it. It's the best chance we've got.
Thanks, Hannah. I mean, one thing on that I respond that I've had, like, so I'm in Edinburgh, and something I've done in local meetings is just be open about, where I'm from. I say, look, I'm part of Democratic Socialists. This is what we want, and I think people really respond to that sort of openness and transparency about, what, and this is, our campaign demands are very popular, and I think that reflects really well on how we've put them together. But they are, so just getting that space and just being open as well about where we're from, I think encourages people to be a part of, to join us as well. Chloe, did you want to respond?
Yeah, sure. Just like one thing in terms of advice that I can give. I don't know whether I'm the best person to give advice, but I think as Ewan said, be open with who you are, with your ideas, present those as well as you can, but don't get disheartened if not everyone agrees with you at this moment, right? Like, you're never going to have everyone agreeing. I mean, it's good that our demands are so popular, but at the end of the day, there are still people who disagree. That's okay. Don't get disheartened when you don't win everyone over in a single day. What we need, this is a long-term struggle, and it has been, for a very long time. And yeah, people are going to come around to to see the point of our critiques more as sort of this party formation process continues to evolve and as the deficiencies become clear. So that's all I've got to say, is just don't get disheartened if it's not all happening in a day.
Sorry, Ewan? Unmute.
Oh yeah, I've been seeing some questions and stuff in the chat, and obviously more stuff about engagement generally, especially among the youth. So, as someone who wasn't able to vote in the last election, I know, shocker, I think there is obviously a bit of an age bias in your party. and a lot of the younger members who are potentially excited by the earlier stuff have been kind of scared off to the Greens, which is obviously unfortunate. But I think we have the ability to build it back and build it back stronger if we have a proper youth section, if the youth section has proper power, has the ability to suggest proper amendments, and if we're able to get the level of youth engagement that isn't necessarily there in Labour youth or in obviously Young Conservatives or anything like that. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I was just going to talk about the regional assemblies for a second. Me and young Ewan, not you and Cameron. We went to the South London Assembly last weekend, I believe it was, and very, you know, it was a lot like you said. It was mainly older white people, and there weren't many young people there. There were a few, but they were spread rather thin. And at the start of the meeting, various people stood up and tried to change the agenda, asked that we could have a vote or whatever, and they were shouted down by Artin Giles, who works for Jeremy Corbyn. He had control of the microphone, and he just shouted at them until people stopped, and people were confused. They didn't know what was going on. And I think what this whole process with the regional assemblies has shown is that, you know, as members, we were promised that this was going to be a radically democratic founding process of a political party, unlike anything we've ever seen in Britain before, perhaps even Europe. And rather than mass participation, what we've received is systematic disempowerment. I think we can all agree about that. The only way to resolve that is by members getting organised. Now, our opponents will say, "Oh, you're just being factional." I don't think factions are a bad thing. I think factions are actually a healthy part of a vibrant party democracy. And I think it's quite ironic and actually quite hypocritical of the people who argue against members getting organised in such a way of saying, "Oh, you know, factions, they're so bad. They're so bad." They are a faction. The people running your party at the moment are a faction, and they're operating in secret, unaccountable to anyone. And I think this period has shown that we need to displace them by any means necessary.
Thank you, Max. Chloe, did you say you want to head off, or you're okay for?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to head off now. 1:30 was my cutoff, but
Okay.
Thank you everyone for coming.
And thank you for being here and explaining to us and answering questions as well. You've been really great tonight. Thank you so much, Chloe.
Bye.
Okay, see you later. Max and Ewan, are you okay to stay?
Yeah.
I need to go. I need to
Right.
go in a bit. We've been online now for an hour and a half. I would suggest that we call the meeting to a close.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry for people who had their hand raised for questions. I mean, and I know there was, I know there was some criticism that I, cut people off or were trying to hurry people along, but this is part of the reason. There's always so many people with that want to do questions, and that's why we want the questions to be shorter so we can get to more people. So I'm really sorry that we didn't get to everyone tonight, but we're responsive on Twitter. If you want to ask us questions, if you want to join up with the Democratic Socialists, go to our website, sign up. And if we haven't onboarded, if we don't onboard you soon, do contact us on Twitter, which is where you found out about this, because we are very responsive there, and we will answer your questions about the Democratic Socialists, about our strategy, about what to do with this upcoming conference and your party going forward as well. Max?
Yeah, you can find our website at dsyp.org. If you go on there, you'll find our alternate political statement, the full model constitution standing orders that our constitutional working group wrote, and the various amendments that we're going to be putting forward. Well, hopefully I'll see many of you in Liverpool in a couple of weekends' time. That's if the conference actually happens.
Ewan, did you want to?
Yeah, obviously there's going to be more of these as well, so we've got to obviously keep in mind that if you've got any questions, any pressing questions, I mean, I'm happy to answer them as well. So if you want to ask Democratic Socialist Twitter, you can obviously or email us or whatever. We'll be happy to ask it, but you can also attend the next meeting and see if you'll get selected for a question there. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks again to everyone who came. Yeah, so as Democratic Socialists, we are here for the long haul. We're also here to organise in the short haul, and we are organising intensely around this founding conference. So do get involved. Do check out our website. Do have a look at our suggested amendments. Do get involved in editing the Constitution on the Your Party website, but also get involved in where there's some opportunity for some activism as well, going against some of the plans. We're happy to help you shake things up if you need to as well. So thank you everyone for coming. It's been great to have you here. We hope to see you all down the line soon. See you later. Bye bye.